Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Devil's Advocate with Rosebud Baker. I am your host, Rosebud Baker. I am so happy to be back this week. Last week was a fun one. The week before that was a fun one. I stopped doing the solo episodes. We're done with the solo episodes. I had to get some shit off my chest. I finished, and now I'm back to having guests on, and I'm so fucking psyched for my guest today. He was like an instant friend of mine. Like the first time we talked, I was like, okay, we're vibing, we're friends, this is happening. Brian Simpson, everybody. Brian, thanks for being here.
What's happening?
Appreciate it. Do you like my podcast voice?
Oh, like, yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan.
Jumped into newscaster mode. Yeah, you've done a shitload of stuff in the last year. You've done like Lights Out with David Spade. You did, you've done a Comedy Central. Where was that 2 years ago? Anyway, you had a Comedy Central digital set, which was great. You didn't?
I never did. No.
I just was looking you up, and I thought I saw a set on there from Comedy Central Digital.
No, because maybe it is now because the David Spade show got canceled or whatever. So maybe they moved it to that.
So did Comedy Central.
Did they?
Yeah, they're done. They all the top execs I mean, they're not done, but you know, I don't know if you heard the news, but like the top executives at Comedy Central, they all got laid off.
Oh yeah. I mean, but they were kind of done a long time ago, really. You know?
Yeah.
I think
it sucks because they're such a good network. They really develop talent and stuff. They really like, you know?
But they were owned by Viacom. They were owned by like this conglomerate. You know what I mean? Which makes it impossible. Like they would make the dopest stuff, and then put up all these blocks for you to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I still haven't seen Ian Edwards' special, and I love him. You know, like
that's good.
I would love to support him, but it's like I don't have comedy. I don't have cable.
It's such a good special. It was really hard to access it. I remember like the night that it was premiering, I watched it and I thought, this is really tough to like it was tough to try to figure out. And I remember being like, I'm not going to text him to ask him, because I know that if I'm thinking about texting him to ask him to watch his special, how do I watch your special? He's getting that text across the board. Right. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But that's a great special. Yeah, it was tough. Like, I loved the way they put shit up on social media for people. And I loved how much, I mean, they really helped me so much in the last like 3 years. But anyway, my point is, you're a very funny guy. You got a great clip on Lights Out with David Spade, and that's what I was talking about. Your comedy's hilarious. It's very much like you're one of those comics that I think you and I both started a little later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you started?
I think I was 27 or 28.
Okay. Yeah, same. And it's like, when you come into it that late, did you feel like you kind of had an advantage? Like, I mean, I know that coming into it late comes with its own challenges, but did you feel on any level that you had an advantage?
I think later on I realized that when I started, I didn't feel that way, but later on I realized that it was because I already had such a strong perspective already. Yeah. There were so many things that I already wanted to say before I started comedy, because I've lived so much life, you know? So in some ways, but I still did and do sometimes envy the people that are like, you know, the 19, 20-year-olds that are, you know, on the same level in the game as I am. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I wish, because I didn't even know when I was 20 that this is what I wanted to do. So I wish I sort of envy that a little bit, because I do wonder what would it have been like if I had known then.
And because like, what were you doing at 20?
At 20, I was in the military.
You were in the military, right? So And what was your purpose for going into the military? Like did you want to be in the military, or was this like I guess I'll go into the military? Because a lot of the people that I grew up with that went into the military, well, I won't say a lot, but some of the people that I grew up with that went into the military, it was like, all right, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? Because they weren't quite sure, or it helped them pay for school, or you know what I mean? It's like, but then other people, it's like their dream. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's something that I think I wanted to it was something I was definitely considering for a while, but it wasn't my dream. But at the end of the day, I just kind of didn't, it was all I had going on, you know?
Yeah.
And so,
and
like,
what
it was
did
my
you do
only
in the
chance.
military?
I was basically, what was my job? My job was I was a tactical air operations module repairman.
Okay, what does that fucking mean? Why do they have to make names? Why do they? The military is like, they're so gifted at overcomplicating shit.
I think it's sort of like because jargon is the way to it's the way to separate yourself, because the military doesn't just do that. Every profession does that, where they have words that could easily be simple words that anyone can understand, but it's sort of their way of creating their own language to separate themselves from outsiders. You know?
Right. So it's like you have this like inside. Yeah, I guess comics do that too.
Yeah,
you know?
we all do it. It's like when comics say going up or going to the store, like you don't even realize you're doing it. But you learn, because I hear new comics using those terms in a way
like the lexicon.
Right, but it's like it's like you read some book that was like, this is what you call it. You didn't really like learn it organically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or they're just like there's an excitement to saying it that's what I think you can differentiate a new comic from an older comic, because they'll be like, I'm going up. And older comics will be like, yeah, I'm going to do a spot. And there's something about it that they're just like, they're like exhausted before it even begins.
Right.
You know?
Or just all the stuff around it. Like I almost always love going on stage, but all the stuff around it, just waiting, and I hate the waiting. Because if it was up to me, I would go up back to back to back to back to back to back to back, and then go home.
Yeah. But it's also, there's something, I mean, I love going up too, but every night before my set, I dread it. And I don't know what that is. Like, it's something that I've kind of always had, where I don't know if you have this at all, but like, I'll show up for a show and I'm like, God damn it. And then the second I'm on stage, I'm having the time of my fucking life. And I'm like, why was I like, I think maybe it's part of like me getting into it is like this stage kind of persona. Not that I'm like a persona up there, but there's something about, I don't know, we kind of get into like our persona before we get on stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with when you're not on stage, you're not in control. Because I think at the end of the day, every comic deep down is a control freak.
Yeah.
And when you're on stage, you're in complete control. And before that, anything can happen. The show could get canceled. You could forget, your set. You could forget. You could go up there and because I do this a lot, where I go to the show or to the mic or to the thing to specifically try a specific bit or a change in a joke or something like that, and then I don't do that. I get off stage and go, God damn it, I didn't like. It's all the things that could go wrong that I'm afraid of happening.
Right?
Because I don't have control over it. Yeah.
That's why it makes me laugh so hard when like I'll talk to like sometimes someone will reach out in my DMs to say that they dated a comic and ask me if I know him. And like, it just makes me laugh when like normal people date comedians, as if that, I'm like, you chose someone who set their life up in a way that they could control every interaction with people, like they could share their innermost thoughts and feelings and then walk away from it. Like, like that's what their life is just they're sharing everything with a group of strangers, but they're the only ones holding the mic. They're controlling the conversation. And at the end of the night, they get to go into a room that's designated only for them, and they get to disappear there. And I'm like, you think that's a good idea for intimacy? I'm like, okay, you know?
Because those people that like to date comics, because I've noticed that too. When there's a non comic that is dating a comic, I usually find out that they've dated other comics. That it's like it's not like the first time. You know what I mean? And they're into comics for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they explain that, what that psychological thing is, why you would, you know, what it is about specifically about a comedian that makes you want to go through that trauma. It's coming.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm like, okay, you're choosing cliff diving is what you're doing. You're choosing the sexual equivalent of cliff diving because you are gonna fall. Like,
yeah, but you know what? They'll be vulnerable.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I mean, if that's what you're looking to, if you're trying to open your heart and be vulnerable, you're gonna learn how to do that for sure.
Yeah. You know what it is? I think some people want to be the, you know, they want to be the Scottie Pippen in their relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and dating an entertainer is the way to sort of guarantee that you know, that they can.
When you say Scottie Pippen, you're saying like a side, like someone who's like playing in the background a little bit.
Or just somebody that doesn't have the weight of the star on them, like somebody, but somebody that also gets to contribute to the title.
To the, got it. Yeah. So, but do you think that that's true? See, I think that's true with women. There's women that's true for. I don't think I can't think of a single man that I've dated that wants that. And that, like I feel like male comics, you guys can date people outside of comedy. And I've tried to date people outside of comedy, but it's awful. It's like I don't know, like you guys get to be funny and the women get to be like, oh my God, he's so funny. And then we go up and it's like, we're funny. And then we get off stage and the guy either secretly thinks that he can do it better or, and then he's like trying to be funny with us, or he is like a fan, and that is gross.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, you know, that's why I think when women hear comics go, like when women comics hear male comics go, oh, I'm not dating comedians. It's like, well, yeah, that's a luxury you have. You know what I mean? It's
like, see, I used to say that because that's the advice I got.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I think that's your only real option. is to either date or at least someone in the business, because God, the other alternative is so boring.
Yeah.
Because what it is I think what most comedians need is you need to date someone that you admire, like someone that you see as, well, I can only speak for me, but somebody that I see as brilliant and passionate about something. It doesn't have to be comedy.
Yeah.
But it's just
and
easier.
It's like, do they have to be funny?
They have to be funny if they think they're funny. Because for me, a big turnoff is, because I can handle someone that's hilarious that doesn't think they're funny, because that's like most funny people, right? But somebody that is not funny that thinks they're hilarious, that will make my dick soft so fast.
That's the worst. That's the worst, when they turn to you and have you ever had someone you're dating try to make you laugh and then it doesn't work. And so they try to like repeat it. Do you know what I'm saying? Your internet connection just went kind of shitty. Hold on.
Oh.
Your internet connection just went out for a second. But what I was asking is, have you ever had somebody that you're dating like ask you, like make a joke, it doesn't land for you, and then they try to repeat it, or they try to go, hey, did you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Or they'll sort of start to crack a smile, like that hopeful smile, like I'm gonna laugh at it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're trying to make me laugh and it's not good, I will give you nothing.
Yeah.
I'm done with I'm out of fake laughs. I'm not gonna fake laugh. No, fuck
yeah.
No. You need to learn. Stop trying to do that.
Right. And also it's like, how did you learn how to be funny? By bombing. It's like,
right.
That's
it's like if you were it's like if I was dating if I was a surgeon and I came home and my wife was just covered in blood with a with the body together, like
cadaver.
Right. Like, look, honey, I did a liver transplant. It's like, no, babe. I went to school for 15 years.
Right.
It's like, let me have this.
That's such a good example because it's so extreme. Like, it's so uncalled for extreme. I love it. Just covered in blood.
Right. Like, I don't know, man. It's hard because for me, honestly, the worst part about dating a non-comic is that they have boring conversation.
Yeah.
It's
like they don't know when a conversation's bad. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. They can't read when a conversation is terrible.
They don't know how to tell a story.
Right.
They just drag it the fuck out. Like, Jesus Christ, get to the point. I just saw a thing with Patrice O'Neal. It's amazing that there's still jokes of his that I haven't heard because I'm obsessed about him. But he's like, I asked my girl to start at the end of the story. Tell me what happened at the end, and then I'll decide if I want to listen to the rest.
Yes. You know? That's so. Is Patrice like? Would you say Patrice is like one of your biggest influences?
Yes. In terms of like,
I could see that.
I wasn't really listening to him before because I wasn't really into comedy, to be honest with you. I wasn't into stand-up really like that before. I wasn't like anti-comedy, but after I started, in terms of people to study, because I don't like watching stand-up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like watching produced stand-up. I like watching live stand-up. But there's hundreds of hours of him just talking on the internet because he was a frequent guest on the Opie and Anthony show, and then he had the Black Phillip show, and so there's a bunch of him just sharing his philosophy and he was a big influence on me in terms of how to just lessons about life and how to handle certain things. He was kind of a relationship expert to some degree. But just the way he broke shit down was always fascinating to me. I don't think anybody was better.
When you say like the way he breaks shit down, I always like to kind of want to break that down. So like when you're watching Patrice break something down for you, what do you see happening? Like describe that for anybody that doesn't know Patrice. And this is mostly comedy listeners, but
because he has a way of putting you in a position to where you either have to agree with him or you're a hypocrite. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas like even, or let me put it a different way. It's like, even though he's saying something you disagree with, his logic, he has such a consistent philosophy that his logic is so bulletproof that it's like you haven't put in the thought into your position to counter what he's saying because he's put a crazy amount of thought into his position.
Yeah.
So I watched him destroy people, like experts. You know what I mean? On like people that are experts in their thing, and he's just like, you're full of shit, and I'll show you how you are full of shit. And by the end of it, like they're agreeing with him that they're full of shit, or they just look crazy or stupid, you know. And it just comes from him he has his own. And I heard him say one time that he may not have the correct philosophy, but he does have a philosophy. He does have a consistent system for thinking through things, and most people don't. So that's why he destroys most people, because most people don't give a thought about what they're saying or how they feeling or their position on things. They just want to be liked.
Well, what I love about him is that it's never personal. Like, it's always coming from a place of objective thought. Like, it's not, you know, he's thinking of all the angles and he's not getting emotionally attached to any of them. There's like something about that to me that I think a lot of comics don't have anymore, which is like they either play to one side or the other, right? But they don't really think through what the fuck they're actually saying. And they don't think, and they get so attached to being perceived this way or that way that they forget, like, you're not a fucking 3D drawing. You know what I mean? Like, you're like a 5D human. Like, there's like multiple sides of you that you could write about all of them. But like, I think that a lot of comedians, and this isn't, I've made the same mistake in my own comedy where I watch old sets of mine and I'm like, that's weird that I wanted to just be that when I'm so many other things, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Patrice has this, and I think you have this ability to be like, you're saying something, but you're not projecting, you're not playing into fucking stereotypes of yourself, and you're not just like, you're not simplifying yourself, you're not dumbing yourself down for the sake of the audience, which I think happens a lot, even really successful comics do this, where I'll watch their comedy and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but like, I don't understand the nuance of you, you know?
Sorry, did you hear that fan I just turned on?
No.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure it's not fucking on here. No, you're right. Like, you know what it is well, Alyssa, this is a little bit Patrice, and this is a little bit of my comedy, one of my comedy mentors. But I got to that because I was told very early on to, like, when you get a new bit and it's a nice, and you think, oh, this is awesome, this is working, the next thing you should do is try to write it from the other perspective. Like, whatever point is in that bit, try to make the opposite point. And because there's extra funny shit in there, there's meat on the bone, you know what I mean? And and so you come across, because most people don't care if you're saying something they disagree with. What they care is that you've heard their perspective. So it's like, I like to be already, you know, kind of like Patrice, where it's like, I've already thought about what you think, right? You've never thought about what I think. I've already thought about what your response to this is going to be. I thought about it thoroughly. I already know what you're thinking. And you know what? You have a little bit of a point, but this is why you're still wrong. You know what I mean? That's why I liked it. To me, that's the best place to end up, even though you can't always really go there because it's not always funny. You know, I care about being funny, man. Like, I'm never really trying to make a point. But if I can, if I think of some funny shit that also makes a point, I'm gonna say that, you know?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to be funny. That's it. Like, that was the best advice I ever got, was don't try to be right, try to be funny. And
or try to be righteous.
I'm just thinking, like, I am a comic that wants to make a point, but it's like, that's always secondary to getting the laugh, you know? That's always, I am a comic that wants, like, maybe to a fault, I want other comics to watch a bit of mine and go, oh wow, she really thought about that, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, some people, especially new comics, they don't realize that that it's like, I think it's a misconception that because comedy can be used to make a point, that you can just start that there. But it's like, it's really a Trojan horse. I mean, the way you make a point with comedy is you tell such a great joke that by the time they're laughing, they don't even realize that you've made the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a Trojan horse. You know, you don't bust out the horse till you through the gates, right? You don't just, it completely defeats the purpose. You don't show up with the army, you show up with the horse, and then when it's safe, then you know what I mean? It's like, some people don't, there's a skill to that. You don't just say the point. That's not a joke. Even though that will get you an applause, but I'm always so disappointed when people take that low-hanging fruit.
Dude, I'm disappointed when I get an applause. I'm like, nah. If I get an applause if I hear more applause than laughter, I'm like, this joke needs some work. That's how I feel.
I'll settle for that.
I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be, I know that sounds like arrogant or something, but I just mean, somewhere in the back of my mind, I go, they're just like, agree with me.
Because you know what? I'll take silence. I'll take applause. I'll take agreement. But the one reaction that just cuts me to my soul.
Oh, this is good.
Is pity.
Yeah.
When a crowd goes, oh my God, that makes me want to fucking murder everyone in the room.
I know.
or go into witness protection. I'm like, don't you dare fucking feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
Because
you know why? Do you feel like, because on the one level, it's like, it's patronizing, but on another level, just on the showroom level, they're taking power away from you when they do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're trying to be like sympathetic, but it's like they're taking your power away. It's like, no, I'm running the conversation. You're not supposed to fucking react like that. You know?
Yeah, but it also makes me it sort of shatters that, like you said, we sit around all night waiting to go up, anxious because we don't have control, and then we finally get on stage and we put this thing out there, and then they remind you, like, they take the control away.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not how I planned this, you know. And I'm disappointed in myself because I'm like, okay, why wasn't that funny? Why did it solicit sympathy or pity?
Right.
You know, it's like, I got to go back to the drawing board. Like, I tried to make something dark and personal about me funny, and then it turned from a comedy show to a fucking one of those, you know, those meetings for trauma survivors or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and this is like going back a bit, but how did you get into comedy? Like, what was your in?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. I don't know if it was any particular one thing, but the last domino was basically just I was flirting with somebody's girlfriend at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole group of people, and I was flirting with this girl, and the guy who was dating that girl happened to be the director of this nonprofit. It was like this nonprofit literary arts thing, and they were trying stand-up. They did storytelling, and they were going to try stand-up in a few months. And I was making his girlfriend laugh, and this whole group laughed. And he was like, "Hey, you ever thought about doing stand-up? We're doing a comedy show. Like, you want to give it a try?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" So then I started going to open mics to get ready for that show.
So wait, this motherfucker saw you flirting with his girlfriend and thought it, and you were funny enough that he was like, "Come do my open mic."
No. He didn't do comedy.
No, but I'm saying you were flirting with his girlfriend, and instead of getting mad, he was like, this motherfucker's funny.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't really flirting with her. I was just being charming. I had never gone into this bar before. I would walk home from school. I would walk home from the bus stop and walk past this bar all the time, and I'd never gone in. And I just went in there, and I'm just sitting in there drinking, talking and shooting and shit. And I was making this group laugh. And you know how you know how girls will laugh at you, will laugh at the funny shit you say in a way that's like, I'm interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she was really flirting with me.
Okay.
So,
all
in
right.
the way she was laughing at what I was saying. But my point is just that I don't think he was threatened at all. In fact, I ended up at a party with them afterwards, like that same night. I was at a house party.
You're like, I fucked them both. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, back then I might have.
So you tried this open mic and you did well? How'd it go?
No, it wasn't an open mic. It was a show, but the show was 3 months away. So I started going because I was and I made the mistake of inviting my friends because this was in San Diego. A lot of my friends from the military had stayed living there after we all got out, and I invited all of them to this show. And I was so afraid of doing bad that I was like, I found every open mic in the city and hit that motherfucker.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's like
good
obsessed.
that you. Well, it's good that you had the foresight to be like, okay, I have to work this out. Like, I feel like not everybody would do that. Like, there's a lot of comics that were just had that initial delusional confidence. And then.
Oh, no. Dude, honestly, what's so crazy is I actually, for years, was doing storytelling with this same organization.
Oh, okay.
And they put me, and the way they do it is they'll take a person that doesn't write or tell stories, and they'll take your story and like put you with coaches and teach you how to like edit it and teach you how to perform it and all this, right? And they'll put you with a performance coach. And they put me with this lady, and I feel so fucking bad. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was like this world-class poet, and she was my performance coach for the comedy. So they approached the comedy the same way they had been doing the storytelling to see if it would work. And so they put me with this performance coach, and I met her at a coffee shop, and I did my routine like across the table, and she was like, "You're a natural." She's like, "Don't change anything. You say that joke on stage just like you said it to me." And I was like, "What?" And I don't know if she meant that or if she just thought that's what I needed to hear. But that's what gave me the confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you got into it, would you say you were in a good place in your life? I'm just curious because
I was stable.
A lot of times. Okay.
But I was definitely lost, because I've been out of the military for, so what was this? That was I've been out of the military for 5 years at that point, or 6 years.
Shit. Okay.
And I'd worked at Intel, the microchip company. I worked at the Pentagon. Both jobs were great jobs, paid me good money, had great hours, and I was miserable doing both of those things. And then here I was, back in San Diego, sleeping on a futon, going to college on my GI Bill money, growing weed in the spare bedroom, and I just didn't know. I didn't know what would make me happy. I was like, because what I had, or what I started to have, was what everyone says that the American dream is. Good job, good benefits. I probably could have saved money, owned something. But I hated it, and I couldn't figure out why. I was just like, yo, I don't know what the thing is that I'm gonna do. I don't know what it is, but I know this ain't it. I knew the military wasn't it. I knew the corporate world wasn't it. And I didn't know what the fuck it was. I knew growing weed wasn't it. I was so bad at that.
How come?
Cause I don't know, man. I think it's something to that. It's something to that. Like some people really have a green thumb. And me, man, my thumbs were like made of acid or something. Cause it was just because you have to grow, to be a grower for real, you gotta really, really, really love plants. You gotta love plants. You know what I mean? You gotta love soil. You gotta love measurements and shit. And I every time something will go wrong, because it's not an exact science, right? It's an art. You gotta have a feel for these plants. You know what I mean? It's like I just didn't.
Yeah, dude, I like the closest I've ever come to having any kind of like, I don't know, hobby or something that came close to comedy was like right before I got into comedy. I had a dog, I had a pit bull, and I loved training this pit bull because she was a fucking nightmare. She wanted to kill everyone. And I was like, I'm gonna train this pit bull to like listen to me. And I got so into that. And after that started like rescuing dogs and shit. And like I got really into that. And I just recently, like since I got into comedy, I recently adopted a puppy. And that whole part of my life where I loved taking care of dogs is over. Like I'm like, I realized it. Like once I got the puppy and I was like, and now I'm trying to fucking train this puppy. I used to get obsessed with this shit. But I'm realizing now it's because I was so lost before comedy. Like I was I felt that exact same thing where it was like, and I hear this from comics everywhere that like right before they got into comedy, they were just like at a loss. They were just like, and I think you kind of have to be in that space where you're like, yeah, I'll try whatever.
Yeah.
Because life can't get more embarrassing than it already is. Like,
and then at first it's like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
How can this be it? This is it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it felt like. It felt like meeting the love of your life and being like, this isn't what I wanted you to look like.
Right. Or because sometimes like I still sometimes feel like I've cheated. Like I'm cheating.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like this, like it's not fair to everyone else that I get to just talk for a living. I don't even have to there's nothing I have to do except talk.
Yeah, but you know that's bullshit, because think about all the fucking shit that you had to go. Think about how fucking hard you work and how long it takes to learn to do what comics do. And it's you know, I mean,
I don't discount that, but you know what it is? I don't give myself too much credit for that, simply because I would have done it it was like I was hooked like a drug. It would be like if you found out that smoking crack paid off after 10 years. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm addicted to comedy. I don't get credit for doing it every night for 10 years because I didn't have a choice.
But see, that's what I'm hearing, that okay, because like, so the feeling of cheating is really not coming from you. That's coming from people outside of you, because why would it be considered cheating to enjoy your life?
Right, I know it's definitely not a logical thing, but it's like but it's almost like it's like if you got a job reviewing Netflix shows.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and you love binge watching Netflix.
Yeah.
And you put hours and hours and hours into it. It's like that's still hard work, but it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Because it's something I would have done anyway. It's something I would still be doing even if it wasn't paying off now. I think the idea of cheating.
I think the idea of cheating is literally based off of the fact that most people, you're enjoying your life and most people don't. And like, I remember right before shit started to kind of pop off, not that things are like popping off now, but like right before stuff started, I started to get a little bit of momentum. I was talking to somebody, and I was like, it just feels like this isn't a reasonable way to make a living. It's not a reasonable way to live. And they were like, why? And I was like, because it's too fun. And they were like, who told you that you're not allowed to have fun in your life?
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Like, who, you know what I mean? Because you think about all the examples you have. I mean, when I think about my parents, I don't know about you, but when I think about my parents, my idea of adulthood as a kid watching them was, okay, you're allowed to have a good life, but you're not really allowed to enjoy it. You got to be exhausted all the time. And every time somebody asks you how you're doing, you got to say you're tired. That's like,
right.
That's like what I think of when I think about my examples for what adults were doing.
But every time I see Jeff Bezos, that motherfucker ain't sleepy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
he's having a great fucking time.
It's like we're told that we're supposed to be miserable, and whoever owns our company is supposed to be living a lap of luxury.
Yeah.
And it's like this internalized, like it's like this self-hatred, but instead of race, it's like as a working class person, you know?
Yeah.
Because most comedians are working class. I mean, even the big name people still have to, well, not all of them deliver. I guess you don't have to put out something awesome, but God, I can't imagine being in a position where that pressure isn't on myself.
Yeah.
Because there is something you give up from being a comedian, right? Like you can't have normal relationships, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
You can't. There's a lot of psychological effects. You don't get good sleep. Like your sleep schedule's fucked. You're very dependent on. Your friend pool is very, very small. You have to come to Hollywood where you deal with all these narcissists.
Yeah.
And every now and then you have to act like one of them to be accepted into this fucking swamp cult. I watched Midsummer last night, and I was like, that's Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor.
Oh my God, yeah.
For Hollywood.
Dude. You're blowing my mind right now, because I just watched that movie like 2 months ago, and you're so fucking right. Like, Jesus Christ, the way they're smiling and then they walk away and they're like, ah! Like they just start fucking crying.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's every person that leaves a Hollywood party.
Or some fucked up shit is happening and they go, no, this is standard. Like, you know, like when someone's trying to get you to sign a shitty contract or something, they go, that's the standard. You're like, fuck out my face with that. It's the same thing there. It's like, no guys, no. We jump off cliffs and crack our skulls on the rocks. It's normal. Yeah.
You have to be respectful. These are our traditions. And you're like, okay, cool. Right. I mean, yeah, dude. So this is like, I'm curious, because I know what I think. There's like a few comics that I know that I'm like, okay, I vibe with this person. Like, I think we see comedy in a similar way, or we approach it in a similar way. And I always wonder, like, when was the first time that you realized you were funny? And I don't know how to ask this in a less brute way, but what about you do you think is funny? Like, what makes you funny?
God,
you
man,
specifically.
I don't know, man. It feels like an accident. I think I do know that I'm usually at my funniest when I'm feeling emotion intensely.
Yeah.
And usually when that emotion is agitation or aggravation.
Same.
Like when I'm complaining, when something's bothering me, and it gets to the point where it boils over to the point where I have to say it, it usually comes out funny. And that's all I know. But I have no idea what's funny about me. I guess I could read more YouTube comments or whatever, but I don't
But
know.
that's not
how
where
I
the
come
answer
across.
would be anyway.
Not really. Not really. Oh God, what's worse than than a comedy analyst? Jesus
yeah, dude.
Christ.
There's some people they'll talk about why they think you're funny in the YouTube comments, and I'm like, all right, whatever works for this guy, but that's not what I fucking was trying to put out.
They're always wrong. It's almost like you ever have a friend try to set you up with somebody.
Yeah.
And you're on this date, or you talk to the person, you're like, why the fuck did you think? Do you even know me?
Yeah, you're like, I gotta do better in terms of I gotta share myself better or something. Like I'm not.
Your friends are the worst. Your friends are the worst person. Your friends are the worst people to try to hook you up with people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're trying to match you with who they want for you, not who's best for you. You know?
Well, it's like taking advice from someone. It's like they're just telling you how to be more like them. Kind of a, you know what I mean? It's all kind of relative. Everyone's speaking from their own subjective shit. But like what you were saying about being annoyed and like getting on stage and kind of like spewing shit and having it just come out funny. I think that kind of takes me back to like what I was saying before about like before I go on stage, I'm always in this place where I'm like, God damn it. You know, I'm always like, God fucking damn it. I got to do a set. And I think I'm kind of subconsciously kind of getting myself in that space where I'm annoyed or I feel like I'm fed up with something like that. Cause that's when I'm funniest, is when I'm just like, yeah, fuck all this. I don't know what it is, but that place is my funny place.
Yep.
Like if I go on stage and I'm like, my life's great, everyone's gonna be like, get out of here.
Yeah, but there's a balance though, because if I'm too angry, it's not funny. If I'm so angry that it's overwhelmed me, I'm not funny. But if I never really get that angry. You know?
Yeah, there's like a sweet spot for sure. I remember one time I fucking lost it on stage. I really like snapped at the whole audience. And because I just felt so fucking misunderstood. I was getting a bunch of ahs and on, and I really just like snapped. And I remember I told the entire audience that every single person in that room would need to lose someone that they loved in order to fucking understand my comedy. And I really lost it. I was like, all of you need to suffer some sort of trauma to get a sense of humor. Like I was like wishing trauma on the audience, which is like, it's insane. And also like weirdly arrogant, because it's like, oh, I only speak for people that have like been abused. It's like, what am I, you know what I mean? I was like putting myself in a corner and I was putting them in a corner, and it was just a nightmare.
Look, when you said that, I immediately pictured you walking around with a power drill. Like, all of you need to experience drama to get this show, and just drilling a hole in everyone's kneecap.
Yeah, you know? just nailing them to their chair. Right. That's what I felt like doing. It was bad. Have you ever done that where you like, you know, where you probably had some moment where you lost it on the audience?
Not in a way that backfired. No, I've never lost it on the audience. No, because I saw it happen enough times before. Because also, like, my first 4 years in comedy, I worked at a comedy club.
Yeah.
In San Diego, and I saw. I mean, I was there at least 4 nights a week. I was there, and actually, I worked at least 4 nights a week, but I was there 5 to 6 nights a week because I was working the door, hosting shows or something. And I just seen so many people do things that and I just learned from them lessons, you know, because I have been the security guy.
Yeah.
And because I've seen it go bad, you know what I mean? Where I've been the security guy, and the comic is on stage, he's lost his shit, and he's talking shit to someone that's standing in front of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, and it's like,
That's so valuable to have been in that position as a comic, because it's like you're on stage, and if you snap at someone, you're thinking about your own experience as like working as a security guy. That's
it's
just
like to me it's like being a door guy is like it's like taking AP classes in high school. You know, it's like you don't need it to be a comic. You know, you don't need them to go to college, but it helps. You know, that you learn a little extra shit that definitely helps. Like I can tell when I meet someone that didn't work at a comedy club in any way. Like even like headlines, even like famous people. When I'm like, oh, I know you never, because you would know not to do that. You know what I mean? Or even stuff where I remember meeting a headliner one time that it was their first time headlining the club, and they were doing, because you know, like a club will usually, like if you're not famous or you're not like on the rise, they'll give you like a off night. They'll give you like a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever, and see how you do. Blah, blah, blah. And this guy got a weekend somehow, or his first time down. And what he kept doing was he was supposed to do 45, and every show he would do more and more time, to the point where by the last show he done about an hour and 45 minutes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and he thought that, like, and his reasoning was that when they see that I just got limitless jokes, they'll be so blown away that they'll book me in the future. But he doesn't realize, no, like they're losing money when you do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've already dropped the checks because they thought you were only doing 45 minutes. They've already dropped the checks. And so they're literally not making any more money for all that extra time you on stage. And that whole
they're just paying their staff.
Exactly. And so no one's impressed with how much time you can do. You know what I mean? Like this is a business. No one gives a fuck. If they thought you couldn't do the time, they wouldn't have booked you. You know, but it's like, but I knew that because that's another thing too. Like the club I worked at, the owner was also a comic.
Yeah.
Right. And he was also a friend of mine. So we became friends. And you know, and I got that insight, you know, where he would tell me afterwards, like, yo, I fucking hate this. I hate that guy. I can't stand when this happens. That motherfucker's never coming back. You know what I mean? And I would learn like what things elicit those reactions. That's also how I know don't fuck with the wait staff.
Yeah.
Like if you can, don't be a dick to the people that work there, because first of all, everyone's fucking everyone. So you never know who's.
Don't fuck with the wait staff, and don't fuck the wait staff.
No, absolutely not, because you don't know what web of drama you've just inserted yourself into.
That that just made me like think of just made me think of exes. Anyway. Just made me so fucking happy with the mistakes my exes have made. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I don't think female comics have that problem, but I definitely have noticed like male comics, they go on the road, they've fucked all the wait staff. It's crazy. It's wild.
I mean, it is funny you say that, because I don't. But to be fair though, female comics don't usually talk shop, you know, like that kind of talk with male comics. You know what I mean? So
what do you mean? Like they don't say who they fucked?
Well, I guess no, because that's not true. They do.
Yeah, I think they do. I just think I don't know, when we're on the road, it's like you don't know who the fuck is. There's something about it that doesn't even feel safe. I'm sure there's female comics that are fucking wait staff. I mean, I know this isn't like across the board, we're all just fucking virgins, you know, but I know, at least for me, when I go on the road, A, I don't drink, so that makes it complicated, and then B, it's like if a waiter is like, if like a server comes up to me and they're like, hey, great set, I'm just like, ugh, beat it, I don't want it.
Yeah, You know, you know what it is? I just think that men are we're weaker in general when it comes to
that, yeah.
Especially a lot of male comics have that. Oh, someone loves me.
She likes me. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's
so
that.
It's like, ugh, it's a toughie. I mean, you know better. I mean, dude, I've been literally in the middle of doing it and simultaneously thinking about how I shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. All the way till I'm finished doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
and you're like, I shouldn't have done this, and you run out.
Yeah, and it's like, oh well, time to start preparing for the backlash.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're running out of time, but normally at the end of this, I take bad advice. So like people will write in with bad advice questions, but I haven't posted this week about it at all. So I don't have any new questions. So if there's a piece of particularly horrible advice that you could give or that you've been given, that you can share with listeners, what would it be?
A piece of horrible advice that I could give or have been given.
Why don't I ask you this? What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
The worst advice I've ever been given.
Comedy or otherwise. It doesn't have to be comedy related.
Fuck, damn, that's hard. I wish you'd have told me that before so I could think about it. The worst advice I've ever been given, man, that's tough because everyone's so dumb.
I love it. You can think about it.
I guess the worst advice because what would make it the worst? I mean, I've been given a lot of bad advice, but I very rarely did I. So I guess what you mean is the worst advice I've ever been given that I listened to.
Yeah, I guess. Or honestly, it could have just been something that somebody told you to do. Like I remember somebody told me once that if I wanted to like make it as a comic, I needed to smile more on stage. Like I needed to smile while I told my jokes because my jokes were like dark. And I was like, I don't need to smile. I don't need to, that looks psychotic. If I'm talking about, I'm going to look like a woman on the verge of a fucking breakdown. You know, I'm like talking about my dead sister, just like smiling like a psychopath, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh no, you know what? You know, actually some real bad advice I was given was to do 2 hits of acid on my first time.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I actually posted, somebody was like, hey man, always take double the dose. You know,
somebody
like
told you that with acid?
No, well, they just told me that, period. Like, yo, when it's your, because you'll never get the chance to go that hard again. So always do double the dose. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like some badass advice. But it was intense. I mean, it was quite the journey, but it was intense.
It is badass advice. It's also just bad.
Yeah, it was a journey though, but
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm surprised you're here with us.
No, I mean, I had an adventure, but I wouldn't want to do it again.
I'm sorry, there's a follow-up for this. I have to ask, what was the craziest thing that happened that night? And also, how old were you?
I was 29.
29? Okay.
Yeah, and I was, the craziest thing that happened, the craziest thing that happened is that I ended up, okay, wow. So I ended up back at the dude that sold us the acid. We ended up back at their house. So I was introduced to this person by a friend. But this is a long story. But so there's in San Diego, there used to be, whenever there was a full moon, there's a nude beach called Black's Beach.
Yeah.
And it's not legally a nude beach. It's just people. It's sort of like the de facto nude beach because it's hard to get. Like the cops can't get to it except by boat because it's so you have to climb down this like real steep cliff to get to it. So anyway, whenever there's a full moon, there's a bonfire there.
Yeah.
People have a big bonfire. People that are doing, Molly, acid, beating on drums, giant drum, whatever.
Yeah.
And I go to this with a friend, and his friend is the guy that is supplying the drugs to everybody. And he's one of these people that where he's like, oh no, bro, I'm not doing this to make money. You know what I mean? So here, just take it for $1. You know what I mean? Like, I just want everybody there. I just want the party to turn up. You know what I mean? He's one of those people. So, it was that kind of situation. And there was actually another comic there too. And I'll tell you when we're not recording who it was. But I ended up separating from that comic and my other friends. So the only people I knew, and I ended up at the drug dealer's girlfriend's house with 2 other people that I didn't know and he didn't know. So we all ended up at their house.
Jesus Christ.
And one of the dudes, he went Jimi Hendrix. He had a bandana? He had a bandana on that had 4 hits of acid on his forehead.
Oh my God.
And he started thinking, now keep in mind, up to this point, everything was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because it turns out one of the dude's cousin was gonna compete in the championship he was trying to win the title of so there's people that go to like these raves and these Coachellas and all this, and they do like light shows with their fingers, like glow shows. Like they have these gloves where the fingers turn all these different colors.
Yeah.
And they do all of this. They're
fucking Molly dancing.
But like there's levels to this shit. Like I've seen people be weak with it, but this nigga was a beast, and it was great. Yeah. Like he gave us this whole show, and I was like, damn, that was pretty good. Anyway, my point is, but the dude on the 4 hits of acid, he convinced himself that the cat was talking to him. And he was convinced that the cat wanted to get out of this apartment. You know what I mean? which was the one rule that the girlfriend was like, okay, I don't know why the fuck there's all these people in my house, but let's just call him Thomas. She was like, Thomas, don't let the cat out. You know what I mean? She literally walked around to each of us and was like, don't let the cat out. You know what I mean? And this dude was sitting beside me and he was like, I don't know, man. Look at him, man. Like he wants out of here, man. You know what I mean? And it turned into a whole thing. The drug dealer guy was like, I have to work in a couple hours, so I'm gonna do this cocaine real quick so I can wake back. So he didn't go to sleep. He did the cocaine. Yeah. But we had to leave basically because like I gotta work. This is my girl's house. I'm about to leave. Blah blah blah. And on our way out, this dude grabs the cat and runs out of the apartment and lets the cat go in the alley. And I let this crazy motherfucker drive me home.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God.
I mean, after that, it turned into a real. It's a long story. We could do a whole episode on that day.
Yeah, we should. We should do a follow-up. This should be a 2-parter.
Yeah, but I ended up. That was the day. So when I ended up at the end of the night, I ended up walking in broad daylight, still tripping my ass off, and with a complete stranger, not any of those people. And this guy was like, it was like his last day on heroin. Like he decided to quit heroin.
Yeah, right.
And no, he did though. He moved back to like Michigan or Omaha or wherever the fuck he was from, like somewhere in the Midwest. and he fucking turned his whole life around. It's like it was a crazy ass thing. Yeah.
So
anyway,
essentially, the bad advice that you took ended up getting a man sober and you making a new friend. Sounds like it all worked out.
I mean, but you know what though? It always does work out.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It was scary.
Thank you so much for fucking doing this. I really appreciate it, dude. I know the Zoom it's tough with Zoom and shit, but I'm glad I got you on. And is there anything you want to plug? Anything you got a podcast or anything?
Oh yeah. My podcast is BS with Brian Simpson. My Instagram is BS comedian. But that's about it. I ain't got nothing.
Awesome.
No real shit going on.
You know, maybe someday we'll finish shooting this thing that we were in the middle of shooting.
You know what? Well, that's a conversation we got. That's another conversation we got to have later. But yeah, I wonder how that's going to even, like, how's it even going to play out? What if somebody dies?
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. You guys, anyway. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all of you for retweeting the podcast and reposting it. And again, if you want any bad advice, you can write to me at DevilsAdvocatePod.ATC at gmail.com. Leave a rating, leave a review. It helps. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. I love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.